practice, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
Good morning and welcome back to another episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. And today, here's what we're talking about: how to get better results in your health, wealth, or happiness. Man, all right. So today I was thinking, while I was working out. Typically that's when I have my thinking time on how I'm going to present today's or the day's podcast. And in my thinking, had a revelation. I had a revelation. I had some help. I'm not going to tell you I didn't get any help because I tend to get help in the mornings, but I got some help on some answers that I know I personally have had about these topics: health, wealth, happiness. And I'll share with you, kind of like how things have worked for me, and especially in one area. But if there's an area that you want to work on today, there's going to be a solution that you can use so that area, yes, that area is going to be better next year, right? All right, so let's look at this. Getting better results. What is better results? Let's think. Let's think about. Let's go all the way back to the very beginning. Come with me. We're going to go all the way back to the very beginning. And where are we going? We're going to the very beginning where God started. And I remember like last summer, I'll get to that story in a second. Last summer, I did a challenge, and I remember using the word ecosystem. And ecosystem, if it came because God didn't call what he was making an ecosystem, but he made an ecosystem where all the things are working in accordance with each other. So the key word here is system. So what God did in the very beginning is he created a system to bring forth results. Now, if we were to look at the very beginning of when God started, a couple of things was going on. We know that he created the heavens and earth in the very beginning, but there was also some other things happening that God refused to look at, which was he saw reality. What was the reality? In the beginning, God created heaven and earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Okay, so God noticed that there was no system that would take him, that would help him do what it is he was going to do. So, but he disregarded the reality. Right now, you and I have to disregard the reality of what the results already are. Come on now, seriously. Let's take our health. I think I'm not a guru, but I'm working there. I probably work there. I'm probably better at health than the others. So if I look at my health and I say, man, well, how have I gotten the results? You want to know how? Let me tell you how. There's a system in place. I never really thought about it like this. And as I think about it, I says, man, what is my system? Like, what is the system that I'm using to get these results or to continue to maintain? Like if you can see, like you can see, like if you saw me several years ago, I didn't look like this. And you don't even see the whole me, but you can see kind of like there, you can see here. You can just probably see that there's something good happening in my body. That's as a result of a system. What is the system? Get up, put your workout clothes on every single day, even if you might not work out, but at least part of the system from the beginning. I'm going to tell you who I got the system from. You want to know? I got it from like a Mark Zuckerberg. No. It wasn't about Mark Zuckerberg working out. It was about Mark Zuckerberg's like, well, I'm going to put the same clothes on every day because that just helps me to be in the mindset that I need to be in that day. I don't have to be sitting about thinking around clothes. I said, man, if there's a fast way to get me what I want, putting on the right clothes. Imagine if you got the wrong clothes on. Oh, I got to change my clothes. Oh man, I got to go upstairs. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm out. I don't have the right clothes. I can't go to the gym. That's happened before. So I always have the clothes on. I go to the first thing I do is put my workout clothes on. So if the first thing I do put my workout clothes on, my mindset is changing that I'm going to do something with my body right now or soon to come. So the system that you create from every action is what's going to help you get the results. Something as small as putting on the right clothes. Because if you don't have the right clothes on, you can't go to the gym. Like if you go in there, if you come in the gym with jeans on and flip-flops, or they don't want you to have that on. They want you to have on the right clothes. So you get the right clothes on. Then after I got the right clothes on, I put myself in the mind. I started already, but I put myself in the mindset to move. What is it? I set a time. What time am I going? I set a time. I remember there was a time I didn't always have set times. But when I didn't have set times, it was a little herky-jerky sometimes. Now, happens every day like clockwork. What does that mean? There's a system in place. So I set a time. So put the clothes on. So it's clothes on, mindset, set a time, go. Everything else is just going to go. Everything else. Now, the results obviously comes from working harder. Yeah, working harder, eating right. But if you wanted to learn how to get better results in your health by simply putting on the right clothes, putting yourself in the right mindset and setting the time and going, bam, it's all set. But let's look at what God did. See, in the beginning, when God created the heaven and earth, he saw the reality. In your health, you may see a reality. You may say, well, man, I'm overweight. Oh, my goodness. Don't pay attention to that. Don't say anything about what's happening or what's happened already. There's a scripture that I can point to in Proverbs somewhere. It says, death and life is in the power of the tongue. And those that eat of the fruit, those that eat of it, reap the fruit thereof. What? Are you serious? Yes, that means that I'm going to either empower myself or I'm going to disempower myself when I keep talking about how bad I look, when I keep talking about how I'm not feeling so good, when I keep talking about how things aren't working, then that means that I have to reap what I sow. God created that in the beginning. You know that, right? At the very beginning, when he created man, he created a way. How do I know God created this? Because when God said, let there be light, and then he said, let there, and everything happened. And then he came to the sixth day and said what? He says, I'm going to create a man. I'm going to create a being in our image, after our likeness. That means that whatever you say becomes your first system. All right. So look, you want to get better results. I get it. I get it. I totally understand that better results, right? Genome says, I thought it was Darren Hardy. Huh? Well, you know what? You bring me back to Darren Hardy. But systems. Let's just think about systems, because I will. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. Darren Hardy, a very good personal development expert and success guru. Definitely, he was. Now I said Mark Zuckerberg. Now I use Mark Zuckerberg just as a uniform, but it was Darren Hardy's productivity. It was his productivity program that helped me to see things in a way that I never saw them. And yes, that was back in 2014. I bought that class. I devoured that class. I think I did it a couple of times, and that changed my life. So when we look at what God said, that he's going to create man and woman in his image after his likeness, that means the words that we say starts the system. Right? We want to create better results in our health, wealth, and happiness, but we got to remember that what we say about ourselves is everything. It's crazy because past few days I wasn't feeling so great, right? You know, I'm just going to be transparent. I wasn't feeling so great because I was just deaf and stuff. And then I realized that, hey, I'm human, but you know what? I'm from heaven too. And because I'm from heaven, then I have to act like it. I have to act like I'm from heaven. I have to continue on in my mission, right? Doesn't mean I don't have to cry. I will cry. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with that. But I got to continue on in my mission, right? Because it's not just about my results. Because look, at the end of the day, when you get your results, because I know Genome's listening, Genome's going to get some results. Jerome, your results aren't for you. Jerome, your results aren't for you. Even though it feels like, man, if I can just get these results for me. No, your results are not for you. Your results is to proclaim the testimony of Jesus Christ in your life. That's what it's for. It is not for us to just say, I'm great. I did it. Yay. No, I did it with the power of the Holy Spirit. I did it with the power of the Almighty God. And it is He that helps me, that gives me this power. Right? That's in Deuteronomy 8:18. It is He that gives us the power to create wealth. What is wealth? Health. Health is the first wealth. And then when we move on to what wealth is, at the end of the day, if you or I'm gonna say if I am not where I would like to be, that is nobody's fault but mine. There's not a system in place. And I'm coming to grips this morning. Like I'm looking around like, wow, the systems aren't producing. Something's being produced, but it's not producing exactly how I would like to produce. But is it? Is it not? I had to think about that. Well, apparently something was created that created what's being created. So that means that there's something happening in my mouth. There's something happening between, these two ears that's causing wealth to be slow. Who wants to change that? This guy must change that. This guy has to change that. And I was thinking about a successful entrepreneur. This guy's name is Alex Hormozi. If you don't know who he is, he's a very successful guy. And I thought about his success. He was successful. He went to school, very good in school, pushed himself really hard, had a great had started a consulting career and decided to go for his passion. He was, he worked out, he was, into bodybuilding, and he decided to open a gym. And he did it against the wishes of his father. His father did not want him to do it. He did it anyway, but he wanted to prove his dad wrong. And he went into business. He went into business in the thing that he loved doing. But here's what happened. He fell more in love with building the business than just the health side, even though the health side was what actually grew for him. And I thought about his success. I says, wow, he got a hold of his body first. There's something to getting a hold of your body and actually controlling it, because a lot of people who get a hold of their bodies, they have an inner strength that a lot of people may not possess. That doesn't mean that they always become wealthy. It doesn't mean that. But if they knew how to turn it now, Alex did. Alex turned that same passion, that same desire into $100+ million business enterprise. Yeah, right? It's crazy. So he went from health into wealth. Check this out. He went from health to wealth. Now, here's the thing. And what he said was, because I listened to his podcast and his videos for the past year or so, and he said something. He was not happy. He was not happy fully. Had the health, had the wealth, but wasn't quite happy. Was still trying to figure some things out until. So what he did was they because they got really rich. They had the health, him and his wife had the health, had the wealth. They got really rich, but they weren't happy. Crazy, right? Isn't that crazy? They weren't happy. Now there's something to be said about that, but I'm not going to get into that aspect because I don't know them personally. But they sold their businesses, but they sold their main business, or at least most of it. And then what they did is they recreated. They took some time off. They figured out what they love the most. And then that's all they do. That's all they do now. I'm like, but now here's the thing. He had health. He had wealth. Wasn't happy. Got rid of everything. Not meaning he didn't give it all of his money, but he sold his business because he says, I think they took about a year. I think they took about a year off to figure some things out. I had plenty of money to do it at that point, right? That's a good thing. But they figured out what would make them the happiest. And then they designed their business, their new enterprise around that. Still business. They didn't go into ministry, guys. Come on now. They did not decide to go into ministry. They decided how to help people at the level that makes them the most fulfilled. That's what they did. And I says, man, it's nice to get that wealth stuff out of the way, right? But here's the thing. As I let you go, it's a system. Everything is a system. And when we look at our results today, which, hey, results just give us feedback. I think someone told me that. I think Janone told me, she gave me a question, an answer about feedback yesterday. No, was it Janone? It might. My brain is swirling. But anyway, feedback gives us, I think Elon Musk talks about this, and how he's become so successful, which he's become so successful because of all the feedback, meaning the feedback that he's gotten from the things that he's doing, but also the feedback that he saw in other businesses. So he went into other businesses and saw their results, saw their feedback, took it to his business, created something, got feedback, and then continued to iterate. That's why he's so successful today. So feedback is a part of the solution. And I was like, man, I haven't done well with that. I haven't done well. But you know what? That's why I do this podcast every day, because this podcast is a way for me to share with you where I'm at, what's happening, what I'm going to think about, what I'm thinking about and so that in next year, the year from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when people say, man, how do you get so successful? Go back and listen to the podcast. You'll hear exactly what it did. Because all these things are leading on a convergence of what God has already planned for me. I'm going to say for me, because the podcast is what he had me to do. But here's the thing, you're involved. Why? If you're listening, if you're watching, if you're looking for a way to, to grow your life, I can tell you that this Account for Life podcast is right at the forefront of something powerful that I'm in the middle of designing it. I'm designing it and I'm reimagining the whole process of how many of us can get better in our lives. So how to get better results in your health, wealth, and happiness? Create some systems. If you create the systems, you can't help but get the results. God bless you guys. I hope you got value from this program. My name is Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.